Hi, this is Lou, welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be working in my sketchbook and showing you how to create lots of different designs of curving tiling forms. So I've got this book here which I've been using as like a pattern resource and just creating lots and lots of different shapes that I can repeat, just lots of ideas that I can use in different works. And then in this one, this is my watercolour sketchbook, and I'm going to work things out in a little bit more detail. So 3 different shapes I'm going to be working with, and I thought I'd introduce them to you. The first one is an Ogee, and I'm hoping that's how you pronounce it. It's Ogee. And an Ogee shape is like an S curve, so a curve one way and then a curve the other, or like that. And you can put these shapes together to make something that looks like kind of like an onion, really, like this kind of shape. And that can go the other way around too, so you can do it so that the point is like on the side, like that, and like that. And then this shape you can repeat. So let's make a whole line of them. So let's do the upright ones. And then bottom row. And then you can just carry that pattern on like this. So I'm going to work with this pattern a little bit just to see what variations I can get in it. So I could see what it looks like kind of wider or maybe thinner. So I'm going to do my S curve a little thinner, I think. Let's try that. So these are kind of 1 across and 2 down on my little grid here, whereas these ones here are 2 across and 2 down. Oh, and I've done that one the wrong way around. But then maybe that's an interesting question. Like, what happens if you do it the other way around? Let's do a second row on that just to see what it is looking like. So you get a very different look to this one here. I think I prefer this one. Okay, let's see what happens if we put one shape one way around and the other the other. I tell you what, I'm going to scale this down a little bit just so I can fit more on the page. So I'm going to do my little S curve across one little square of my grid here. And then what if that, I've got to think about this, the curve goes that way. Oh, no, no, I didn't go too far. So with this one, we've really ended up with kind of several different shapes. So we've got the kind of onion shape, we've got the onion on its side, and then in between we've got these like little modified diamonds, kind of mirrored. So that's quite interesting. So there's lots of different shapes to kind of play with in that one. What I have seen is like a modified one where you kind of do half the S curve and then a little line and then the rest of the S curve. So let's try that. So let's do half my S curve and then little line and then the rest. And then let's do the other half of that. Okay, we've got like a, I don't know, it's like a shield kind of shape. So I quite like that, but again, I think I prefer them kind of short and fat, so I think I might try that again, but keep the, so yeah, so eventually we've ended up kind of elongating the shape here. So let's see if I can just do my little line quite short there, so something like that. So I've got this S curve with a smaller line in it. Again, I think I'm already liking this shape a bit better. So I'm going to carry on playing with these shapes over on this side of the page and just keep adding more and more different variations and seeing what I can do with it. So I've kind of generated a few different ideas here, and I've got like these ones I think look like 1970s wallpaper. This looks like, this reminds me of Batman for some reason. I started thinking, okay, well, if you can separate a shape with a little vertical line, what happens if you do it the other way? And you end up with this kind of motif, which does repeat nicely, but it is giving me Batman vibes. So, so yeah, could be interesting to play with. And then I've got various ones where I kind of combined the different kind of ways around that you can draw this shape. I'm going to do the same now with two different types of patterns. So this one is the Ogee, which starts with the S curve, and then I'm going to do a scallop or fan pattern, and that's like scallop shelly type pattern. I'm sure you've seen it before. It's based on like half circles. So you draw half circles like this, and then above it another row of half circles, and you end up with this shape here, which repeats nicely. So I'm going to spend a while playing with those shapes, and then I've got a third one which I'm going to show you too. So I've got quite a few of these shapes now, and when I started kind of modifying the curves and how the curves were made and kind of splitting them up into different sections, I've really ended up with some interesting shapes down here. So yeah, so those are something that I'll probably go on and play with. The third shape is a quatrefoil. Quatrefoil, I'm not sure. But it's basically, it's a kind of a four, it means four leaves, and you kind of make it out of four circles or petal shapes or something like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, and then the kind of the end up and then the shape kind of ends up looking a bit like that. And you can have your circles closer together or further apart. You can put like little corners on it, so it ends up looking like this kind of shape. And yeah, so I'm going to play with this and see where that takes me. So I'm going to find it easier drawing the first shape as 4 circles, and that will help me work out what the rest needs to look like. So this one is kind of 4, the whole overall shape is 4 squares wide and 4 squares deep, and each one is like a semicircle like that. And I can just repeat that. And then I could do the next one like directly underneath, or I could do them like offset. Let's try directly underneath first and see what that looks like. And then this has left me with all of these interesting kind of shapes in between, kind of like a little like diamond shape almost. I could put like something in there. Okay, let's see what this looks like if I offset the patterns. So let's start with my first shape here. Second one here, and then the third one. Is there room for that in there? Yeah, there is. It's not leaving me with like a lot of room in between to do anything, but they do kind of fit nicely. So what if my circles are kind of further, like smaller, but join, they don't like overlap. So like these ones over here overlap, but these ones here just kind of join, like they touch at the sides. So that's more like this shape. I'm going to see what happens if I spread these a little bit further apart. So I just give them a bit of a gap, some breathing room. And then I can put in one here. And then what about that shape with the corners? I'm finding the interesting thing about this shape is what happens in the gaps in between the shapes. So there's a lot of possibility with that. So I'm going to be working with these kind of different forms over the next few weeks, but for now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my Ogee shapes and just take a few of these and make them, scale them up a little bit, do them in my sketchbook, and have a play with some more little motifs to go in the centre of them and outlining them, and yeah, just making them more interesting. The point of doing this exercise is not that you come up with exactly the same patterns as I do, but that you start kind of thinking about how you could alter them and change them in your own way. And of course these are classic patterns. There are some here that I've gone, oh, I've seen this pattern used in a certain way, so I want to see if I can play with that. Sometimes I'm just playing with patterns and then I'll come across something and go, oh yes, I recognise that, I've seen that pattern before. But then other times I'm kind of coming up with something that I'm not quite sure I've seen really before, not in quite the same way. And the idea is that if you do this process, then you'll start having those thoughts about how you could alter and change these patterns, and how you could make them your own and bring your own style to them. Now my little notebook here's got grid lining on the pages, which I found very useful for drawing these shapes. So I thought what I'd do was just create a grid in my little notebook. So I've just drawn this with pencil, and my grid squares are 1 centimetre apart. So I'm going to take some of these shapes and transfer them into my sketchbook and then play with them a little bit. So let's see which of these I'm finding interesting to work with. So I think I quite like the basic one, so I might just go with that. Right, so I've got a pen and I'm just going to start by drawing the basic shape. And for this one, I think I'm going to do that S curve, but do it twice. So I end up with this kind of like a petal shape. So one side of the S curve tends more towards the top of the square, and the other one is just going a little bit more towards the bottom. So what I want to do with the work in my sketchbook is just take it on that little step further and see what other things this needs, what kind of decorative elements it might need, how to take this pattern on. And I think this is crying out for something to go inside these little spaces. So let's go with a kind of, let's see, maybe if I do like just something quite simple, like some petals like that. It's kind of like a bit like a modified fleur-de-lis, like a very simple kind of fleur-de-lis, kind of, that fills the space quite nicely. Okay, I think I'm just going to go and add that shape to all of these and see how it fills it out. So I'm going to carry on filling up these little sections with slightly fuller patterns, and I'm going to be adding interesting decorative elements that I can use in my final paintings. These can be small circles, stripes, petal shapes, even floral elements. You can make an area look fuller by doubling up an outline, and you can colour areas in, either with a pen or with watercolour or markers. Thanks very much for watching today. If you've liked the video, then please give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more from me, then please do subscribe to the channel. I'm currently producing a whole series on different types of patterns, and I've got quite a few videos coming up in the next few weeks where I'll be taking the patterns that I've worked on today forward in different ways. So do let me know if you've worked on any of these patterns, if you've enjoyed the process, and yeah, you can always find me on Instagram at LouRachelDavis, and I love interacting with you over there as well. I hope you'll join me in my next video, because I'm going to be taking one of these patterns, scaling it up and making a whole page of that pattern in watercolour, and I'll be showing you that process step by step. So I hope that you'll join me for that one, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye bye.